face of the nation. Ah, ma'am. Beautiful. There's a microphone in front of you. So you're going to join me as we lead everybody in the singing of the national anthem. So I'm your backup and you're the lead singer. Please introduce yourself first of all.
My name is Cynthia Kombudiari. I work for the Convention on Business Integrity.
All right, thank you. Nice to meet you. And we are starting now.
All right, so
compatriots, Nigeria's call obey to serve our fatherland with love and strength and faith. The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. To serve with heart and mind, one nation bound in freedom, peace and unity. Stanza 2.
O God of creation, direct our noble cause, guide our leaders right, help our youth the truth to know, in love and honesty to grow and live in just and true. Great lofty height to build a nation, where peace and justice shall reign. Amen. Thank you very much. You can have your seats. Right about now, I want to invite a very special person to every one of us, of course. She is a woman of excellence, black beauty, ebony, shining, amazing, excellent. She said I should stop. She's so beautiful, but I'll stop. She's so rich and wealthy, but I'll stop. And she's a great woman. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the Chief Executive Officer and the founder of Welcome to Africa International, Miss Bamidele Owuola, as she comes forward for her opening remark. Please keep clapping until she gets here. Woo! Good morning, everybody. Thank you for the introduction. It's kind of thrown me off guard now. I had a fantastic speech about the Nigerian economy, and now thinking of all these things you've said, but thank you anyway. So thank you, everybody, for coming here today. We really, really appreciate your attendance. Your attendance really is testimony to how important this issue is with regards to the ports and the customs and how we can make it run more efficiently. As a company, over the years, we've had a very strong focus on the agricultural sector. And what we've been doing is seeing how we can promote and facilitate investments. But from doing that, obviously, we've had the opportunity to engage with a number of different agribusinesses, as well as importers and exporters, all of whom are thriving, but could be doing so much better if our ports and customs and just the trade ecosystem was working a lot more efficiently. And of course, if there was more transparency and if there was less challenges across the trade ecosystem. One of the partners that we've engaged with is One Port 365, who are a freight management company who work with importers and exporters. And they were the ones that really, spend a lot of time being concerned about the trade and customs and some of the challenges they face with customs and how these challenges invariably affect the businesses that they work with. So that was how the conceptualization of this roundtable started.
the more we tried to find other stakeholders, we found that, okay, this is actually a problem. And I want to use this opportunity to thank all of our partners that have joined us to support us in this drive, from Nexim Bank to CBI to MACN, Web Fontaine. Okay. So we've organized this roundtable because we really want to lend our voices. And during the course of the day, we would really appreciate it if you could share your experiences, as well as share what you feel would be solutions as to how we can improve trade in Nigeria. So once again, I thank you all for being here, and I hope you find today interesting and insightful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mom. You see, I said you're beautiful, shining, great, excellent, everything, a woman of integrity. I mean, for you to organize such thing, to lend our voices to the challenges of trade and investment. Well done, Ma. Thank you once again. All right, moving on. I'm inviting the Chief Executive Officer of Convention of Business Integrity, CBI, in person of Soji Apampa. Please put your hands together for him. Keep clapping until he gets here. That's all human. Keep clapping. Yes. Mr. Soji Apampa, the CEO, CBI.
Thank you. Notice how she didn't say I was handsome or anything like that. Anyway, thank God for that. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, may I, on behalf of Welcome to Africa, One Port 365, the Nexim Bank, Web Fontaine, the Maritime Anti-Corruption Network that we represent, and the Convention on Business Integrity that I also represent, welcome you to this roundtable. It's really important, the discussion we're having today around digitalizing customs, ports operations, and trade in Nigeria, because we're thinking of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area and thinking, will Nigeria get a fair share of the trade flows that will be going around in West Africa? Talk less of the rest of Africa. If Togo and her ports are preferred to Nigeria, Benin is preferred, Ghana is preferred, then why come to Nigeria? And what flows are we going to get? Yet we have producers. Nigeria's number one problem that is affecting our GDP is the lack of productivity. It's the lack of production. So if we're not producing anything and we're not exporting anything, then is it a surprise that we're not earning anything? This is something we're going to have to correct, but it's still going to have to go through the ports, whether it's land, sea, or air. Although today we're thinking about the seaports, it will still move through those ports. If we don't get in some of the raw materials or some of the components that we need to create finished goods, how do we then compete? So it is a crucial discussion that we're having, and our companies will be competing for market share or competing for survival, because it means people from other areas will be able to bring their cargoes into our space. Then how do we compete at the end of the day? So it is very important that we're focusing on the ports. I hope that by the end of the day today, we would have had an opportunity to examine how we can get speed in the ports processes. I don't know how you can do that without digitalization. Efficiency in the ports processes. I don't know how you will do that if you have to stack up 60 copies of something, or you need 169 signatures to bring a vessel in and take it out. Although that has been greatly rationalized now with the National Port Process Manual and some other reforms. So if that is still what Nigeria is doing, how are we going to get effectiveness at the ports? Just to leave us with this final thought, that what all the users of the ports will be looking for at the end of the day is transparency, consistency. So transparency of the operating procedures, consistency of the application, and finally, predictability in terms of time and cost. How long will it take me to get my cargoes in and out? How much will it cost me? And will it always take that time? Will it always cost me that much? And then they can do a cost benefit between Nigeria and other places. So if Nigeria is really going to compete, it has to think very carefully about these parameters. So mine is not to discuss all the topics that we have today, but rather just to welcome you to what promises to be a very exciting roundtable. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. And I apologize for not emphasizing how handsome you are. I was saving the best for the last. So you see, he is very handsome and he smells so good. And his outfit is so fine. And his shoes are so fine. Nice taste of shoes. And your cap. Oh my days. Thank you again, sir. So he mentioned that the lack of production and Nigeria not having enough exports, lack of productivity is one of the problems and challenges that we have. And that by the end of today, we should have been able to examine how we can get speed and efficiency in port processes. Thank you very much, Mr. Sojia Pampa. All right. Here's a quick reminder that you have notepads and pens in front of you. So if you have any questions, observations, whatever, please pen them down and let us know. The ushers bring them forward so you can have answers to your questions when the speaker is done. So after this keynote address, there will be a very short tea break where you can all go outside to get tea or coffee. But before that, we would have this keynote address from the Deputy Director, Policy and Strategy, Nigerian Export Promotion Council. Please put your hands together as we make welcome Mr. Akintunde Folorunsho to the podium. He's fine. I tell you, he's fine. He's the beards for me.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to stand on the existing protocol. But foremost, I would like to bring the good tidings of the Executive Director, CEO of Nigerian Export Promotion Council, Barrister Dr. Esther Yakusak, who I'm representing here this morning. My job here is very simple. It's just to present his keynote address. By the time I'm done with the presentation, I believe some of the heroes that is so germane to our mind this morning must have been, will be expressed herein. The keynote address actually will be on Nigeria readiness for AFCFTA, Africa Continental Free Trade Area, and the need for transparent, efficient, and Nigerian ports and terminals. I am quite delighted to present the keynote address at this stakeholders roundtable to discuss an important subject to the growth of international trade in Nigeria as it relates to readiness for AFCFTA and the imperatives of having an efficient ports and terminal operations. The AFCFTA, as we all know, set an important milestone in achieving an economically integrated Africa, covering a GDP of 2.5 trillion of the African market. It is also intended to expand market access from African states by eliminating trade barriers as African countries trade less with one another compared with trading with Europe and other continents. Africa is peak at 2% of the entire global trade, and 70% of African exports are just intracontinental, while that with Asia is 59%, with Europe 68%. Therefore, AFCTA is aimed at integrating within Africa an increase of African global trade share. Nigeria's success with AFCFTA can only be determined by a diversified and sustainable economy with strong linkages with neighbors and top economies in Africa to prepare for a post-oil revenue-driven society, which is very imperative. This mission also could only translate to national aspiration, economically viable communities to grow Nigeria inter-trade export trade with dominant industry and service cluster at every state. Also, for us to succeed, there must be high productive workforce with good jobs and attractive earning power at every level. There must be job-driven skill, strategies, and entrepreneurial education to boost resilience and versatility of the workforce. Our mission in this trade agreement also can only be achieved with the elimination of apparent barriers to trade. And one vital area is production and production issues, as earlier said in the welcome address. With its attendant challenges displayed by capacity and skill debt, low capacity utilization, low agricultural yield, high post-harvest losses, significant dependence on imports of inputs and components into production, intense competition from cheaper imports, high operating costs, and low adaptation of technology and best practices. We also have infrastructural deficits of lack of access to uninterrupted power, obsolete and inadequate critical infrastructure to aid production, international product certification issues, low stock of transport infrastructure, roads, rail, and water, inefficient logistics operations, port congestion, low interconnectivity of transport modes due to poor planning, and low access to modern logistic infrastructure, like fleet, warehousing facilities, park houses, and critical equipment. There are also regulatory constraints with overlapping mandates of MDAs with institutional cooperation, cost of doing business, that is, permits, bureaucratic bottlenecks, multiple taxation, fiscal uncertainty, and weak macroeconomic environment. Another significant area of concern to AFCFTA implementation is predatory and trade practices of smuggling through man and unmanned borders, abuse of the rules of origin, and non-enforcement of AFCFTA rules by regional partners. There are also funding constraints necessitated by dwindling government revenue, difficulties in accessing incentives, intervention financing, and cost of finance at global competitive types. That with this financing, Nigeria needs to use funding and fiscal incentives to mobilize larger amounts of private capital into transformational export projects. We are going to look briefly at the funding of export banks all over the world. We're looking at China Exim Bank has about $250 billion US dollars as is in its reserve for export financing. India Exim have 12 billion, Mexico 13 billion, Turkey 12 billion, and Nigeria 0.16 billion. For us to succeed, there must be real financing for exports. In essence, the success of AFCA is hinged on effective trade facilitation procedures, which is an antidote to transparent and efficient Nigeria ports and terminals operations. The fundamental purpose of trade facilitation is to simplify the trading process, whether domestic or international, and foster transparency on all rules concerning trade procedure in order to allow the trading community to adequately prepare and comply. To simplify trading process, the National Single Window concept has been profiled by the UN CFAT, United Nations Center for Trade Facilitation and Electronic Business, as a tool to developing simple, transparent, and effective processes for global business through the development of trade facilitation recommendations and e-business standards. Nigeria is highly represented in UN CFAT as we have the vice chairman from NAPC, hence the need for us for continuous advocacy for the implementation of the National Single Window. The national single window is a facility that allows parties involved in trade and transport to launch standardized information and documents with a single entry point to fulfill all import, export, and transit-related regulatory requirements. If information is electronic, then individual data elements will only be submitted once. Like the welcome address talking about having to have 60 signatures, have to submit documents to various agencies. But when we have the single window, just a single entry. The purpose of a single window is also to have faster services at the border for import and export, predictable dwell times at import and export, minimal cost for import and export procedures, improve validity of all compliance data, correct revenue collection, better coordination between authorities, less man-hours spent on routine tax and less corruption. In the end, it leads to better economic climate. At this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, I would also like to seek indulgence to present some of the things we've been doing as a council to promote SME readiness for AFCFTA and to support a stress-free port and terminal operation in Nigeria. In NAPC, we have what we call the Nigeria Competitiveness Project and Go Global Go for Certification Initiative. And this is to facilitate SMEs acquisition of international certification in order to access national export markets